how to handle a 3-course meal, and especially for those who are new to this or who come from the part of the world where this is not part of their culture, for example, to eat with a fork and a knife. We will have a demonstration on how to go through typical, as it were, a 3-course meal, meaning having a starter, a main course, and a dessert. For those who haven't met me before, my name is Anisia Mwaniki, and I'm broadcasting from Nairobi, Kenya. And just to mention from the onset that for those who are within reach, we offer training, practical sessions for families, for groups, for individuals who want to learn a little more on table etiquette. And then I said, this is mainly for those who are new to these things. For those who find themselves faced with situations and things that they're expected to know and yet were not taught, were never taught. And especially were never taught because it's not part of their culture. And yet the world has also become very globalized, and we will obviously find ourselves in those settings where we have to handle probably even a formal luncheon or a formal dinner, and we don't know how to go about it. So in this video, I'm going to have a demonstration on a 3-course meal of a starter, which is a soup here, and then the main course, and then the dessert. So let's get on with it and just let's learn at least the basics so that we can begin from there, and little by little with practice we can grow and improve on different aspects of dining etiquette. The soup course will be the starter. When you go to the table, you will find a dinner plate, which is the largest plate in the set, and then usually the soup plate will be on top. Then the soup plate is a deep plate. Yeah, it's deeper than any of the others. Or sometimes the soup can be served in a soup bowl. In this case, we've served it on a soup plate, which as you realize, is a deep plate. And then, because it is the first course in the meal, the corresponding spoon is the one that is outermost. Yeah, it's at the end on your right, because you're going to use it with your right hand. Then the soup spoon, if you notice, is that it's usually rounded, not sharp here, and it's deeper. Yeah, because it is supposed to contain the soup properly. And then how do you proceed from there? Is that with the soup, you actually, by the way, before we even dip into it, you drink your soup from this edge. You sip it. You don't even put the whole spoon in your mouth. You sip your soup from the side facing you. And then the way to do it is you scoop the soup. You can go over the edge in case to avoid any dripping, and then you bring the soup to your mouth. Remember that with all the meals is that you bring the food to your mouth, not your mouth to the food. Yeah, and you avoid slouching. Yeah, of course you're not going to be seated like straight like a rod, but you can bend slightly, but you don't slouch towards the dish or towards the plate. So you scoop like this. You can pass it over the edge of the plate so that it stops the dripping, and then you eat the soup. And then we talk about eating the soup, not drinking the soup. And then once you're through with your soup, you just leave the spoon on the plate. If it's a soup bowl, then you leave the spoon on the side plate on which it is placed. And then generally it's a question of practice, and then you'll get used to it. By the way, avoiding also holding the spoon like this, because that's not correct. Yeah, it's supposed to be held like this. Yeah, so you scoop your soup, you pass it there depending on also the thickness of the soup, then you eat it. And then with that, you're ready to move to the main course. Once you're through with the starter, and the plate can be put aside, and then you will have your main course on the dinner plate. So the main course, when we talk about the main course, it's usually the one now that contains usually the three things: the protein, the carbohydrates, and the vegetables. And then it is served on a dinner plate, which is the largest of the plates, and flat. It's the biggest, and it is flat. In fact, it is flat because it is ideally supposed to be used with a fork and a knife, not a spoon. Yeah, because otherwise the food is going to be all over the place. So then for the main course, we use the knife and the fork that are closest to the plate. They're usually now the ones that are just next to the plate. There could be others on the outer side for the other courses. Then the main course, the fork and the knife are just next to the dinner plate. Then how do you proceed from there? For those who are probably new to this, the way to hold the fork and the knife is it's like you're holding it first. Yeah, you're grabbing it. The same with the fork. Then you turn the knife this way, and you place your index finger there so that you can have a very firm grip of the knife, because it's one that you're going to use to cut things. Yeah, and if you have it like that, then you have a very firm grip. Then the fork is again also, it's like for starting, you hold it like this, then you turn it upside down, because you're going to eat with it like this. Yeah, with your finger placed there. And we call this the continental way of eating, which is what I'm going to demonstrate. I'm not going to demonstrate the American one. Continental meaning the practice in Europe and in all the Commonwealth, yeah, Britain and the Commonwealth. Basically, all the English-speaking countries will have this way of handling the fork and the knife. And then, so from there, how do you proceed? I know many people have a problem, especially when it is meat that has bone in it. But then the rule is, as long as the meat is held firmly by the fork, you use the knife to cut through, yeah, and to remove the meat from the bone. Yeah, so as long as your fork is firm, you'll be able to remove the meat from the bone using the knife. Then what you do, okay, once you remove, in case you need to remove, of course, if it's steak and all that, you don't have to remove. Then you cut them into bite sizes. Yeah, one at a time. Not, you don't cut them into pieces and then you start picking them. You cut into bite sizes, and then once you cut, then you could combine it with anything else. Like in this case, you can combine it with the vegetable, yeah, or you could combine, for example, now with this, with the potato, yeah, and then you go through that, yeah. And like we said, in all other meals, you bring the food while you're holding the fork in this position. You bring the food to the mouth, yeah. You don't slouch. You may bend slightly, but you don't slouch over the food, yeah, over the plate, yeah. And then make sure that you don't put too much food in your mouth, because ordinarily, if you're having a meal with other people, you're supposed to hold a conversation. So make it comfortable, you know, for yourself and for the others. So you just take bite sizes. And then what happens if you have something that cannot really be poked with the fork, like in this case the rice, yeah? It is allowed that in that case you can turn the fork in this position, then use the knife to bring the rice or whatever it is to the fork, yeah, like that, and then you can eat it. You can bring it to the mouth in this position. And then as I say, you can also combine different things. For example, you can combine all this, and then you maybe you add a bit of rice, and then you eat it like that, yeah. Then remember, for holding the fork and the knife, please don't hold your fork in any other direction or position, yeah, like this, or I don't know, like that, you know. No, that is not correct. Or you don't hold your knife in this position, or I don't know, like a pen or something like this. No, yeah. So it's, as long as you have a firm grip of the two, you will never go wrong, yeah. For those who are new to this, of course, it needs a bit of practice, but then once you do that, you won't even think twice about it. You'll do it very automatically, yeah. And then once you finish your meal, you just put the fork and knife like that, yeah. And then for those who are within reach, like I've mentioned before, we offer practical demonstrations for those who are learning or who would like to practice or to learn a little more on table etiquette, yeah, for children, for families, for groups, even for individuals, yeah. And then with that, it's a question of practice and good luck in it. And like I said, for some people, this is something very new because it's not part of their culture. They are used to eating with their hands, or eating just with a spoon, or who knows, even just with the chopsticks, yeah. The dessert course, this can be varied. It's the one that you eat after the main course. It can be fruits, whole fruits, it can be fruit salad, it can be a pudding, it can be whatever, something baked. And depending on what it is being served, you will set the cutlery accordingly. So in this particular case, we'll start with fruits, if it's whole fruits that are served. So then the cutlery that are placed horizontal at the top here are always for the dessert. Please never make the mistake of going for the spoon, for example, that is here, or the fork, to eat any other course, because that is only for the dessert and is served at the end. If they are waiters, sometimes they will come and actually remove them and put on the side when it's time for the dessert course. Otherwise, they are placed in such a way that you use the knife with your right hand and the fork with your left hand, yeah. So they are always set like that, and this could be replaced by a spoon if the dessert is going to be eaten with a spoon. So how do you handle this? I wanted to try to do this one with whole fruits, so that we make a demonstration. So basically, like with any fruit, like if it's this kind, or an orange, or an apple, you cut through, and then from there, or you can also bend it like this and cut through to remove the peel. And then from there you can cut now according to bite sizes, yeah, a piece at a time, yeah. And then you eat it with the fork, yeah, like with the other course. Then you bring it to the mouth. So that's for the melon, if it's a melon. What about a banana? If it's not already cut, what you do is you cut the ends like this, and then you could cut it, maybe to make it easier, you can also cut it into smaller whatever pieces. Then you just cut through. You can cut either here or even down here to open it up. And then once you do that, you now cut the bite sizes that you want. Yeah, you can cut the bite sizes that you want. I know eating fruits with a fork and a knife can be a bit tricky, but with practice you realize that it gets easier. But then what if the dessert is not fruit? Maybe it's a fruit salad or ice cream or something that has some liquid or fluid in it. Then you serve it on um, what you call a dessert bowl. Yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention that whole fruits are served, or desserts that need to be served on a flat plate are served on this plate, which we call a dessert plate, or sometimes it's referred to as a luncheon plate. It's flat but slightly smaller than a dinner plate. So if it's going to be any other kind of dessert, then instead of a knife, it will be a spoon, yeah, a dessert spoon, then with a fork, yeah, and then that's what you use to eat the whatever dessert now, the fruit salad, the ice cream, or something that probably has custard or any kind of sauce. It can be served in a dessert bowl. Yeah, and then with this, when you have the spoon and the fork, depending on what kind of dessert it is, you can actually either eat with the fork or eat with a spoon. For example, there will be desserts where you actually need to use the fork to push the whatever it is onto the spoon, and then you eat it with the spoon. Yeah, and like everything else, it's a question of practice, and we get to know what is what, and we get comfortable with it all. Sometimes, by the way, if you go to a British restaurant, for example, the British usually refer to the dessert as the sweet, yeah, or the pudding, yeah, so that you know what it is that they are talking about. And with that, let's practice and let's get the necessary training if we need to. I think we all do, regardless of the level and the kind of details we need to learn. Just subscribe to our channel and keep in touch with us. Bye.